British teenager found in France after going missing 6 years ago could return to the UK today. A team of British police officers and consular staff are on their way to pick up Alex Batty, who was spotted by a delivery driver on a road in the foothills of the Pyrenees yesterday morning. Fabien Axedini says he offered the 17-year-old a lift because he felt sorry for him.
I saw a young guy on the side of the road with a skateboard under his arm, backpack, flashlight, and just a normal guy. So I look at it a bit confused, like what did he do? What he's doing in the middle of the night? It was raining at 3 a.m. Stopped by him and we spoke for 2 minutes. He came with me. We continue my work because I deliver medicine to the pharmacy at night. And all along during the drive, we talk about his situation. And he told me that he was kidnapped by his mother and grandfather when he was in Morocco.
Let's speak now to Adam Sage, who's the Times correspondent in France. Morning, Adam.
Good morning.
Good to speak to you. So what have we learned then about the circumstances surrounding Alex Batty's, well, I was going to say discovery, but his kind of arrival at the police station?
What we know is that he'd been living in this community for the last 6 years. That last weekend, some point last weekend, he'd had enough. He decided to leave. He left on his own. He walked for 4 days through mountain paths, through villages, before he finally got onto this road in the middle of the night, where he was picked up by the chemist delivery driver that we've just heard from. That they talked, that they were driving around for 3 hours as he was finishing his delivery through the night. That gradually the story that the boy, who's now 17, told the delivery driver came out. That the delivery driver was increasingly amazed and shocked at this story of how he'd been living in this community for the last 6 years, latterly at least for the last 2 years in France, in southern France, and quite close to the Spanish border, in a travelling and itinerant community that seems to have stayed in caravans, tents, rental accommodation, no fixed place. At some point, I think it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, the delivery driver decided to contact the police. He called the police, who said, well, you better take him to a police station. He took him to the police station in Revel, which is quite close to Toulouse, where he was taken in charge by officers who checked and confirmed his identity, that it was indeed Alex Batty, who has been missing, as you said, for 6 years.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Do we know what has been happening since? Where has he been? What has happened to him in this sort of interim? Because we understand that he may end up back in the UK today.
Yes, well, that's clearly his hope, because he told the delivery driver that he had left because he wanted to see his grandmother in northern England, his grandmother who is his guardian. And I think he will now be reunited with her. We know that he was questioned by police to confirm his identity. We know that then he was then passed on to the social services to look after him. That's the social services of the Haute-Garonne, which is the equivalent of the county council. I don't precisely know where they put him up, maybe in a hotel or a hostel. The La Dépêche du Midi, which is the regional newspaper in Toulouse, says that he seems to be in good health. Obviously, he was very, very tired after 4 days walking through the mountains on his own, but he doesn't seem to have suffered any signs of physical abuse. He is now recovering, and there's no signs of as far as I can see, anything that would stop him returning to the UK.
And is there any sort of suggestion at this point, Adam, of, I suppose, sort of anything happening against his will, that he was in this spiritual community for all these years against his will? Clearly, he has left it. He has kind of seemingly just walked away from it. So, what do we know about those 6 years, I suppose?
Very little. He
Yeah.
told the delivery driver that he was living in a quote-unquote luxurious house in Spain with 10 other people. The delivery driver said that he showed no apparent animosity or hostility towards his mother, and has been free to come and go as he liked. And indeed, he did leave the community on his own, and wasn't imprisoned there. That said, of course, that there is a suspicion that this community is some kind of cult where you are held not physically against your will, but through mental control mechanisms against your will. And obviously that's an issue that the French authorities will no doubt be looking at. The fact that it's a spiritual community, that it's itinerant, that rings a lot of alarm bells, because it's a fairly standard practice for cults who use control mechanisms to keep people there, including children, to travel regularly to avoid the authorities getting onto their tails. So I imagine that all those issues will now be studied by the French authorities.
Adam, thank you very much indeed. Very good to speak to you this morning on what is a remarkable story. Adam Sage, the Times correspondent reporting from Paris. We'll continue to reflect on the, utter astonishment that I think most of us are feeling with all of this throughout the programme. We'll speak to our correspondent in Toulouse. And we'll also speak to a reporter in Oldham, which is where Alex Batty's family, or at least his grandmother, is, to try and get a sense of how this, as we say, remarkable discovery. I'm trying to find the right word. It's not discovery, really, because he's kind of presented himself to the police station. But the fact that he's showed up after 6 years is bewildering in so many ways. So we'll get reaction throughout the programme.
There's a picture, unsurprisingly, of Alex Batty looking, I'm sure, unrecognisable to how he does now. This is him at age 11 on the front page of the Times this morning. Their lead story, though, we're going to be looking at this in quite some detail across the programme, is the uncovering that the Times investigation team have done